And now, Lifestyles Unlimited presents the Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Over the next hour, we unfold your map to financial freedom. You'll learn how to retire through investing in single family and multifamily real estate. You'll learn how to create cash flow and build wealth so you can have the time and money to live the lifestyle you want.
Welcome to the show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, I'm working on your financial freedom. And this just in, I have received confirmation that my son, Johnathan Gordon, is actually on an aircraft. And he's not flying the aircraft. He's a passenger on an aircraft, and that aircraft is leaving. Well, it's already left. It's already gone. It left the Middle East, and it's on its way to the United States. Now, it's like a 30-hour flight. They've got to go to all these different places, and I'm not going to get into the logistics and the minutia of an airplane flight. But just know this. My son, Johnathan, is coming home, and we are elated in the Gordon household. You probably hear the emotion in my voice, and I'm really trying hard to hold it back, but I'll tell you, I'm a proud daddy. I am a proud father. And more importantly, my real estate investment partner is on his way home. This is the guy, this is my horse, this is my jockey, this is the guy that I've been waiting for because my son Johnathan is a certified lead investor at Lifestyles Unlimited. He knows how to invest correctly, not only in single family, but multifamily assets. And if you've listened to the show for any period of time, you know that about a year ago, Johnathan was called away to go overseas to go protect your freedoms. He protected your freedoms. Now, you may be going, well, he's in the Middle East. How is he protecting our freedoms? Well, let's just put it this way. There's no war going on in your neighborhood. That's how he's protecting your freedoms. And he's kind of off duty now because he's on an airplane. I'm guessing he's going to Germany. That's probably the first stop. That's usually where everybody goes. They go to Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany. They land. They're either told they can't get off the plane, or if they're allowed to get off the plane, they're in a controlled area. So it's not like you can go to the bar and have your first drink or anything. But here's the beautiful piece. He's coming home safely. He's coming home with all of his body parts, and he's bringing all of his soldiers home. Every one of his soldiers that he deployed with, he is bringing home. Now, some of them, they faced some disciplinary actions, but none of them got into major trouble. None of them lost any body parts. None of them lost their lives. And I consider that to be a very successful mission. Anytime you can take people into harm's way and you can bring them home safely, that's a win in my book. So my soldier is coming home, and I'm looking forward to my soldier getting back into the swing of things with real estate investing. Now, let me take you back and let me give you the whole backstory on this thing. Back in 2017, my son Johnathan had an epiphany. He did. He decided, you know what, Dad? He didn't call me Al, but he goes, you know what, Dad? I want to start investing in real estate. It seems to make sense to me. You own some real estate, Dad. It seems to make sense to you. Now, what Johnathan didn't know was that, yes, I did own some real estate, but I owned it incorrectly. When you compare what I was doing prior to 2017 to what I know how to do now, it was apples and oranges, man. I'm telling you, it was bad. I was following somebody else's map. I was listening to people that didn't know what they were doing, advising me on how to operate my properties. And the best I could accomplish was mediocrity. So in 2017, I'm kind of like, well, I'd like to do the real estate thing. I still know that I still believe that it's going to do some great things for me. I tried to retire from the United States Army. I massively failed at that in 2014. So I had to go back into the workforce in 2015. And in 2017, I'm in the workforce. I'm hating my job. I'm looking at cubicle hell for another like 18 years or something like that. And my son approaches me because he had heard Lifestyles Unlimited on the radio, and what he heard actually made sense to him. And we had gone and checked out some other organizations. I think we went to 2 or 3 different organizations that try and do what Lifestyles Unlimited does, but they're not very good at it. I'm just telling you my experience with them. So we checked out these other organizations, and I was pretty disappointed in all of them. So, and when we went to, ultimately we went to a free workshop, at the San Antonio office of Lifestyles Unlimited. And the first thing that caught my attention was that this place actually was a brick and mortar location. Yeah, Lifestyles Unlimited has physical bricks and mortar locations in several cities. And the reason we do that is so that we have a solid footprint. So here's the point I want to make. My son is coming home. I have not seen my son for literally a year. Now, there was about a 4-day break at the end of the first 3 months that he was deployed, where he was able to come home for a couple days, get his affairs in order, try and recharge his batteries, so to speak, before he went overseas. So it's physically been 9 months since I physically have seen my son, because he's been boots on the ground over in the Middle East. He's coming home. He's on an airplane. I think he's going to land in Germany. From Germany, who knows where he goes next, but eventually he's going to land in terra firma on the United States soil, and I hope he kisses the ground. I really do. I hope he kisses the ground, because this country, no matter what its faults are, no matter whether you agree with everything that goes on in this country or you don't, this is still the greatest country in the United States, and I am so proud that my son went into harm's way to protect it for you, and now I get my son back. And more importantly, I get my real estate investing partner back. The person that I built business plans with over a year and a half ago that got interrupted because of military service are being dusted off. Here, ready? Whew, there, I just blew the dust off of the plans. The plans are being pulled out, and we're going to re-execute what we started to do a year and a half ago when he gets home. It's going to be an amazing thing. And I'll tell you, the real estate markets right now are perfectly poised for us to make a lot of money. Now, as we went to break, I was telling you the story of how Johnathan and I became members of Lifestyles Unlimited. In 2017, it was the summer of 2017, we went to the Lifestyles Unlimited offices in San Antonio, Texas, and we listened to a Lifestyles Unlimited member tell us about the organization. He taught us about how we should change our mindset, how we should look at things a little bit differently than we look at them now. He taught us how they buy single-family properties. He taught us why flipping is not really investing. He taught us how to invest in multifamily properties. And more importantly, he showed us how we could make just crazy money using something called forced appreciation in the multifamily space, something you can't do in the single family space, but you can do it in the multifamily space. And what that does for you is that accelerates your ability to make money. Well, when he got done explaining all this stuff to us, now me, I'm Mr. I don't join nothing, the guy that did 27 years in the Army. Now you understand why I don't join nothing. So my son listens to the whole thing. He decides, you know what? I'm going to get up and I'm going to go join. I'm like, whoa, time out. What are you doing? What are you doing, John? He says, Dad, didn't you hear what he said? Everything he said made total sense to me. And I said, well, yeah, it made sense to me, but where are you going to go join? He said, because I want to get started. I'm ready to take action. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm in a difficult spot here, because if I poo-poo on his idea, that's going to be problematic for our relationship, because he's going to think that I don't think that he understands what he's doing, and that'll create conflict, and I don't want conflict. So you know what I did? I said, you know what, John, here's what we're going to do. I'll join too. Now, one of the interesting things about Lifestyles Unlimited is that when you have a family member join, any other family members that join get to join at half price. So back in the day, I whatever the price point was, I went ahead and paid for the primary membership, and then Johnathan paid half price for his particular membership. We had to have separate memberships because we're not married, and that's just the way it is. We go to something called the 2-day Financial Freedom Seminar. In the 2-day Financial Freedom Seminar, a guy by the name of David Fisher, a Lifestyles Unlimited member, teaches us one over the world everything we need to know in order to be successful real estate investors. Everything. We get it in 2 days over a Saturday and a Sunday. It's 16 hours. And trust me, it's 16 hours. It's not 16 hours of going in and playing games, but 16 hours of sharpening your mind and learning what nobody else has bothered to teach you. So we learned everything that we needed to learn. And when we were finished with the Financial Freedom Seminar, we started talking about, okay, how do we want to invest? Do we want to go single family? Do we want to go multifamily? Now, keep in mind, at this time period, I'm working in a job that's requiring at least 40 hours a week, and it's closer to 60 hours a week. So I don't have a lot of available white space on my calendar, so to speak. John, he's got a little more white space on his calendar because he's a college student, but he doesn't have any money because he's a college student, right? So you're starting to think, so I'm starting to see that this whole lifestyles thing is not going to work out for you. And you'd be wrong. You would be absolutely wrong. Because what we did was we put a plan together to start investing passively into other members' deals. Now, John had some money that he had saved up. I think he had amassed something like $25,000 of savings. I think it was like, around $200,000 available to me once I got rid of other assets that I had that were way underperforming. And we went to work and we bought into real estate investment deals. We did this in 2017 and we were fully invested and up into 2018. I think we were in about 4 different apartment community deals, okay, at the time. And all of those deals sold at about the 4-year point. So we got a bunch of money back. John more than doubled his money. I more than doubled my money. So it kind of gives you an idea of our starting point going into the next phase of investing. The next phase of investing was supposed to start a year and a half ago, but what happened was John is a member of the Texas Army National Guard, which means he's actually a reserve soldier. He's supposed to only work 1 weekend a month or 2 weeks in the summer, or if he gets called up for emergencies. Well, in October, 2021? I think it was October of 2021. The governor of the state of Texas activated the entire Texas National Guard. Anybody that was not on a federal mission already or doing something else, he activated everybody to go down to the border and provide support elements to the Border Patrol so that the Border Patrol could go out and actually do the job of the Border Patrol. National Guard comes in and backfills all these non-essential jobs. Well, they're essential jobs, but they're not jobs that the Border Patrol agents actually go and put handcuffs on people. Does that make sense? Okay. So the point is the Guard comes in, they become a combat multiplier. They take care of all the support and the services piece so that the Border Patrol agents can actually go out and do the job, the primary job of a Border Patrol agent, which is protecting, our borders or whatever they do down there. I'm not sure what they do down there. Anyhow, John was on the border mission for about 6 months, and then his unit of assignment was notified they would be activated for a federal mission. That's another thing that happens in National Guard. So they actually serve 2 bosses. They serve the governor and they serve the president. So at that point, we knew John was going to go down range. So our plans to invest were hot and heavy right around October of 2021, and we had to put them on the shelf. When we come back from the break, I'm going to tell you the result. Stick around.
Got questions? Call Lifestyles Unlimited at 855-497-4335. The Real Estate Investor Radio Show continues next.
Everyone is asking, is it still a good time to invest in real estate?
We see no indication that for the foreseeable future, and even the unforeseeable future, no indication whatsoever that real estate is suddenly not going to be the best vehicle for creating wealth and passive income for your family. And so that would say that now is the time to get in. And we very rarely talk about this because we talk about cash flow. But now we're talking a little bit about capital gains and what the future brings in that property. Because it's real. At the end of the day, you have all your cash flow, but you've got this nice capital gain when you sell. And the inflation that we see and the reasons for it are going to continue. And we're going to see great capital gains at the end of the line when we sell these properties.
Get in on the next free workshop. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Creating the lifestyle you've always wanted. You're hearing Lifestyles Unlimited's Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome back to the second half of the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, I'm working on your financial freedom. And on today's show, I'm just giving you some backstory on my son, First Lieutenant Johnathan Gordon, who is on his way home from the Middle East. And I am a very, very proud papa. I'm trying real hard not to break down in tears on the radio. That's how happy I am. And I'm just elated that he's coming home safe, all in one piece. And I'm just super excited to see my son. I have not been able to physically see him for the last 9 months that he's been serving in the Middle East. So how does this all shake out? He's on an airplane. He's coming home. It's about a 30-hour flight from what I can tell. And he'll be back in Texas. He's got to go through something called demobilization, in which case they out-process him from the big army and they convert him back into National Guard status. Now, some of you people that are Texans listening to me, you know that the governor of the state of Texas has not pulled the National Guard off of the border mission. So some of you are concerned, wait a minute, Johnathan's coming home. Wouldn't he have to go back on that border mission? And you would be right. He does have to go back on that border mission if he's called to service for it. Now, he's not going to volunteer, but he has to go back on that border mission. Here's the neat thing, though. He has a period of time. Now, we're not 100% sure what that period of time is because I think it's still being negotiated at the high levels of command and civilian leadership. But I think it's about a 90-day break where they just can't touch him at all. They can't pull him down to the border mission. He's just basically unemployed, so to speak. Does that make sense? Johnathan will be home and unemployed for about 3 months, and then he could go back on the border mission. So what are we going to do in that 3-month period to get ready for him to accelerate his real estate investing business? Well, this is what we're doing. And it's pretty simple. First couple of days when Johnathan gets home, you know what he's going to do? He's just going to chill out and deal with nothing. Yeah, no responsibility. Nobody telling him to wake up at dark 100. Nobody telling him that he has to do certain things that he doesn't want to do. Nobody telling him he has to go shower with a bunch of other people in a common shower area. Nobody telling him that he has to go use the latrine for the bathroom. Nobody telling him he has to sleep in a tent for another night in a sleeping bag. He'll actually be in his own bed in our home, and we're super excited to see him. So we're going to give him a couple days to decompress, and then once we decompress, we're going to go back to the playbook that we put on ice 18 months ago when he got called to the border mission. We're pulling it back out, and here's why. We know for a fact that in a 3-month time period, we can get our business up and running as him as a lead investor, me as the operations guy working for the lead investor, and we're going to get ready to go buy apartment communities. Now, here's the neat thing. Even if he gets pulled back to the border mission, if he gets pulled back there, we're still going to be okay because I'm in place to run the operation. What we want to do is we want to find the right apartment community, get it under contract, get it into escrow, and then get going on fixing the operational problems of the asset. Now, we're targeting assets that are probably going to be at least 50 units or more. I would like to see us in a 100-unit or more asset. And here's why I'd like to see 100 units or more. With 100 units or more, we can easily put full-time management and full-time maintenance onto the property. Now, that's a huge combat multiplier, especially for a guy like me that's going to run the operations piece, because I don't like spending a bunch of my time working. I really don't. And if I have full-time management and I have full-time maintenance, that takes a lot of the day-to-day responsibilities off of me, and I like that. I like that very much. That allows me to manage the apartment community with a very limited amount of time that I'm willing to put into it. And we can effectively manage the property from wherever we're starting until the point we're taking it to, in which case we either sell it or refinance it, and we glean a ton of equity in the property. Yeah, that's exactly what's going through my mind. Now, some of you are going, wow, 90 days, that's not a lot of time to be able to do this. And I'm here to tell you, it's actually plenty of time. And here's why. We're members of Lifestyles Unlimited. We're part of a community. When Johnathan gets back, and after he spends about 3 to 7 days just chilling out, no responsibility, nothing to do. You know what the first thing we're going to do? He and I, we're going to go sit down with our mentor, Robert, and we're going to have a heart-to-heart on the multifamily investing world with our multifamily mentor, Robert. What we're going to talk about is the plan going forward. We're going to have our original plan, dust it off, and we're going to talk about that plan with our mentor. Now, notice I keep telling you we're going to talk to our mentor. What I'm trying to get through your mind is that that is a very, very important piece of what Johnathan and I will do. Because when we lay our plan out to our mentor, if our mentor sees any chinks in the armor, he's going to point them out. He's going to say, well, did you consider this? Did you consider that? Did you think about this? And what it's going to do for us is it's going to give us the ability to refine and enhance our plan. Now, let me give you some background on John's finances. Hopefully he won't yell at me when he gets off the plane. He finds out that I've shared with the world his won over the world of money. I'm real proud of him. So let me take you back to what we did. In 2017, we became members of Lifestyles Unlimited. We went into the preferred investor group. John had about $25,000 he had available that he had saved up through his entire life, and he was going to college and saving money. So I'm telling you, it is possible to do it. He started investing into multifamily assets along with me. And 4 years later, all those assets sold. He doubled his money. So he's got about $50,000 available to him from the proceeds of those investments that he made. Now, here's where the rest of John's money is coming from. Because he's been deployed literally for the last year or so, he hasn't had a need to spend money, yet the military still pays him. So one of the things that John has done is he has taken the majority of his paycheck and he's put it into a savings account. There's a savings account that he and I hold jointly, and he drops the bulk of his money in there. And he's got about, $65,000 sitting in that account. He also has a checking account that I don't have access to, but he told me he's got maybe another $25,000 in there on top of that. So let's see how much money John's got. He's got about $65,000 in one account. He's got about $25,000 in another account. That's what, $90,000? Plus, he's got $50,000 available to him from the proceeds of his previous investments. Wait a minute. He reinvested that money. That's right. He reinvested that money. And as a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, he added an additional $30,000 to it. Yeah, so he's got $80,000 invested in multifamily apartment communities up in Denton, Texas, with a fellow Lifestyles Unlimited member. So that money's off the table. So we've got about $90,000 that John has to work with. This is the power of real estate, folks. This is what I keep trying to tell you. $65,000 came from working, but all the rest of his money basically came from him correctly investing in real estate over the past 5 to 6 years. John will have about $90,000 available to him. I am selling my last single-family house. I've notified my resident that she needs to move on. I'm going to take that money and I'm going to inject it into John's money. So he's going to have right around $200,000 available to him in order to buy multifamily assets. Now, the way we do it at Lifestyles Unlimited, he's going to be a first-time lead, which means he has to put up at least 10% of all the money that he raises as far as the cash contribution to the investment, or the equity portion, if you will. So what does that mean? What can he buy? Well, if you take $200,000 and that represents 10% of the money that can be raised, he can raise a total of $2 million, of which $1.8 million is other people's money, and $200,000 is essentially our money. Does that make sense? Or his money, I should say. It's essentially his money. That allows him to buy a property that's worth about $8 million. Now, we're not interested in buying a property that's worth $8 million, and here's a couple reasons why. Number one, we want to start a little smaller. Yeah, we could buy, I told you earlier in the show, I'd love to buy a 100-unit apartment community because it would make life easy for Al if John has to go back on the border mission. It would make life really easy for me. But I'm not interested in easy. I'm interested in doing the right thing for my son and myself. Because remember, we're building wealth for ourselves. So what we'll probably do is we'll probably buy something in the neighborhood of like 30 to 50 units. And as a result of that, we're probably going to be spending in the neighborhood of anywhere from $2.5 to $3 million. Now, some of you are thinking, well, wait a minute, Al, if you can buy $8 million worth of property, why aren't you buying $8 million worth of property? Well, here's the reason why. And this gets back to the strategy. This gets back to the conversation that we had with Robert, our mentor, a year and a half ago, which was this. Make sure you have money available for your second and your third investments. Your second and your third investments. Because here's the thing. When John buys the first asset and he gets it stabilized, he's going to be looking for his second asset. And if he doesn't have any money available to him to buy his second asset, he won't buy the second asset. But here's the thing. If we keep half of our investable money in reserve, that money is available to us for our second investment, in which case we go out and we buy another asset somewhere in the $2.5 to $3 million range. Now we've got about $6 million worth of property at the base pricing, and that's the base pricing before we even do what we know what to do to the properties as Lifestyles Unlimited members to reposition those properties so that those properties potentially double in value. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And then here's the other thing. For the third property, Johnathan is invested in 2 multifamily apartment communities up in the Denton area, which is outside of, it's part of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Those assets are scheduled to sell in about a year to a year and a half. I have a bunch of money invested in Arizona, also up in, am I in Denton? I'm not sure if I'm in Denton. I guess I have to, I'm so lazy as a passive, I can't remember where all my properties are. The point I'm trying to make is that I will have assets that will be selling that are passive assets that are going to produce a bunch of money for me too. So for us to get into our third deal, we will have to sell some assets that we're holding passively, but that's not a problem because when the money becomes available, we'll be able to get into our third multi-family apartment deal. Why is that important? Why is that third deal so important? Because based on the metrics that we laid out, Johnathan will effectively retire himself once he stabilizes property number 2. So some of you are yelling at the radio, so why buy property number 3 if you're retired at property number 2? Because property number 2 doesn't provide the wealth potential that property number 3 will provide, as well as property number 4 and property number 5 and property number 6. Keep in mind, Johnathan is 25 years of age. He's going to be retired, fully retired. If everything goes to plan, it should go to plan the way we're factoring it. He will be retired well before he's 30 years of age. What an amazing accomplishment, especially when you compare it to my life, where I spent the first 55 years of my life not retired. No, I wasn't retired at all. I had to become a member of Lifestyles Unlimited in order to effectively retire myself. So at the age of 55, I retired. The fact that I'm going to get my son retired before he's age 30, that to me is a huge victory. And kind of a step away from what the rest of the world is doing. And I think if you're going to do what you want to do, and I think if you're going to get yourself retired in the next 5 years, you need to start doing what Johnathan and I are doing. Now, we had to take a year and a half tactical pause because of military service obligations. We don't have any problems with that. We understand it. I mean, part of the reason we're able to do what we do is because we live in this free country that my son has been protecting for the last 9 months that he's been in a combat zone. But he's coming home. My son is coming home, and I am just pumped. I am just super excited. If you want to do what Johnathan and I are doing, just go to lifestylesunlimited.com, sign up for a free workshop, and like us, we'll get you going.
The information and opinions you hear on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.